What effort can be made that will bring about some benefit? Any effort, if it is made with conscientiousness and graced with forethought. Okay? So what effort can be made that will bring about some benefit? Yeah. Any effort, if it is made with conscientiousness and graced with forethought. Yeah, it means with conscientiousness and forethought. Thinking about something before you do it. So that's what I'm going to actually talk about. Okay, so, what effort is worth making, we often think about that, don't we, what should I do, what is worth doing, what isn't worth doing. And here what he's referring to is to get us grounded, in the moment, what's good to do right now in the moment with what's right in front of our nose, and also what's good to do, in the long term when we're making plans. So two important elements that he's talking about here are conscientiousness and forethought. Okay, so conscientiousness is a mental factor that has respect for goodness and respect for ethical conduct. Okay, so it's a conscientious mind. It's a mind that cares about what I'm doing and chooses, what I'm about to do, because we do you get what I mean? I mean, we have certain values and we want to be conscientious. We want to do what's suitable and proper and what's going to have a good effect. This conscientiousness is the opposite of recklessness. Okay? So recklessness is just impulsive, saying whatever comes out of our mouth, typing whatever we want into an email, sending it, doing physically whatever pops into our mind in the moment. So, that's a lack of conscientiousness. We're not thinking about the effects of our actions on ourselves or the effects of our actions on other people. Okay? And so forethought in that way is similar. Forethought slows us down, and before doing something we think in the long term, what is the effect of this action going to be? And even in the short term, what is the effect of this action going to be? Okay? So these two things, conscientiousness and forethought, really make us, it prevents us from being impulsive. Okay? And impulsivity is something that we often suffer from, especially when our mind is under the influence of an affliction. So the mind is uncomfortable or dissatisfied, wanting something, whatever. And so an idea pops into our mind of what to do, how to get what we want, or how to get rid of the circumstance we don't like. And without thinking about the effects on other people, without thinking about the effects karmically on ourselves, just impulsively doing something. Okay? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah? No. And the problem with being impulsive is often, when there's an affliction in the mind, we aren't really in touch with what it is we actually want. And so because we aren't in touch with what we want, when we're impulsive and an idea or an impulse comes in our mind and we act it out, the behavior often brings about the opposite of what it is we're wanting. Okay? Oh, I have many examples. Okay? I saw it in my life. I have one situation where I really saw it, where my friend he was using somebody else's car. The other guy was in India. and the hood would fly up. And so I told my friend, I said, you got to have this fixed now, immediately. And he said, no, it's no problem. I just chain it, Well, one day, we were supposed to meet at some time, before Dharma class or something. I don't know what it was. He didn't show up. So like an hour and a half later, he comes and I say, what happened? And he said, I was driving on I-5 and the hood flew up. I-5, the major highway going up the West Coast, and the hood flew up. And I got so mad. I said, my goodness, I told you before, kind of to get this fixed, and you're so irresponsible, and da-da-da-da-da. Okay? So what I really meant was, I am so glad you're alive. I'm so glad you're alive, and I care about you. But what I said was out of anger, and it pushed him away. So we see this so often. What we want is to have friends, but we act in ways that push people away from us. And then we wonder why we have problems in our relationships. But we always blame the other person. We never think it has anything to do with my behavior. Right? Yeah? It's always the other person. But it's due to our lack of conscientiousness and forethought. So we often do things that push people away when what we want is to be close.
Well, this week I said some words impulsively when I was angry. I haven't done that actually for a few months, which is fantastic. But the flavor of it reminded me of something that I did 9 years ago here when I was talking to you. And I've been trying to figure out it's kind of one of these tricky things where there's truth in the words, but it's not okay. You aren't really, you're trying to handle something that you don't know how to handle. And you say something that just causes hurt in the other person. And so it doesn't really work. That's my example. So the impulsiveness is, it's lacking both those factors completely. I mean, you're just like, blah. So I don't know if that's a good example, but it was impulsive. I've done a few other things that were impulsive too. Actually, when I moved here, I didn't think I was an impulsive person because there's certain categories of things where I'm not impulsive, but I've learned that there's a whole other categories of things where I can't. The affliction is so strong, I actually can't control my behavior. And in that way, I've found the NVC helpful because I recognize sometimes when I analyze things, I can find out what my buried needs are that are actually making impulsive behavior.
My impulsiveness is disguised in the flavor of getting things done. So it was a few years ago, I was asked to put up a gate down on the lower Boise Road. And I took 2 of our dear guests with us to do this. I thought it was going to take a few hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours. Went down about 9 o'clock in the morning, thought we'd be back in time for lunch. Well, once Semke gets going, she just got fired up about this gate and decided we're just going to work through lunch. Not a problem. It's taking longer than I thought. We're all kind of, getting gung-ho and just saying, we're going to just do this. Well, unbeknownst to me, the entire community thinks that we've driven the car off the side of the cliff because I've failed to tell the community that we've had a change of plans due to some difficulties. So we're out there just kind of tooling away, and then I go take them, rather than getting right back to the Abbey, because now I'm happy the gate's done, and I'm going to give them a tour of the forest. So I take the truck, and we go down to the other part of the property, and I'm showing them the boundaries. Meanwhile, Venerable Samten and Kevin are out looking for us, thinking we've rolled the truck down the cliff and that we're in some ravine somewhere. So Kevin comes and goes, Semke, you are so busted. You are just so busted. That was the first response out of Kevin's mouth when he finally found us. I'm like, what, Kevin? So I got taken to the Venerable Abbess and told, because it was this enthusiasm, this impulsive propensity to get things done and to just hang in there until it's done, not thinking how my actions affect other people, especially when you're living in community. And of course, Rachel and Jody, they're kind of hooked into my enthusiasm. They probably would have preferred to go to lunch, but they weren't going to tell Semke no. So I learned that it's better to communicate. It's better to be realistic about what can be accomplished, and there's always tomorrow. And, and Kevin, every time I looked at him for 3 months after that, he'd go, "You're busted, you're busted, you're busted." Which was one of the dearest things Kevin has ever said to me.